Today I'm going to be talking about the new Thief and giving you a build to capitalize on it. Let's do this. To begin this build, we are going to be going with a Goliath, specifically the Frost Goliath. This is going to do a couple different things for us. The first is it's going to give us the ability to slow down our enemies while doing a bit of extra damage. It's also going to let us carry more crap. Being a thief means we want to carry as many items as we can. Being able to carry more is excellent. It's also going to give us a bigger size. This primarily lets us grapple more enemies, and you'd be surprised to learn that the Thief is an excellent grappler. I'd really lean into the fact that we're a Goliath Rogue. That's a pretty unusual combination. So maybe we have a past where all of the people around us are focused on strength, they're focused on climbing up this ordning, and we are a runt out of the Goliaths. Still a Goliath, but a runt in the Goliath community, and so we had to learn to be clever. So we know how to fight hand to hand, but we do it in a different way, and many of our Goliath friends look down on us, but we've gotten pretty good at what we do. Just an idea for a character build you could run with this build. As for our background, we're going to be going into Charlatan. This is going to give us the skills Deception and Sleight of Hand, and it's also going to give us the skilled Feat. The skilled feat is going to allow us to take 3 other skills. With those skills, I'm going to pick up Arcana, which is the big one. The other ones are optional. I went with Persuasion and Insight. On top of that, it's going to give us an excellent +2 in Dexterity, +1 in Constitution. As for our stats, we're going to be a primary in Dexterity, a tertiary in Constitution. Everything else is going to go into Wisdom. If we can get our Strength to 10, then that is a bonus pretty late in what we're doing, but I'd also be looking at getting Charisma up a little bit. So Strength and Charisma, we want to bump a little bit. And overall intelligence is going to be our dumb stat. With Rogue, we're going to get a bunch of different skills right off the bat. I'm going to be taking Stealth, Acrobatics, Athletics, and Perception. All excellent skills for a Thief. As for our expertise, I'm going to be taking it in Acrobatics and Sleight of Hand. Next up, we have Sneak Attack. Standard Rogue stuff, does good damage on 1 hit a turn, so long as we have an ally next to them or we have advantage. We're eventually going to be able to give ourselves advantage, and so we're going to be able to proc this ourselves. That is a pretty big deal for a Rogue. As for our masteries, I'm going to be taking 1 mastery in our Rapier. Vex is going to be one way we get advantage, which lets us get a Sneak Attack off, and the Slow gives us a secondary Sniper playstyle. When combined with our Frost Goliath Slow, we can remove 20 feet of movement. So when we're in Sniper mode, we're going to find a good position, we're going to hit our enemies, and we're going to slow them down up to 20 feet a turn. That is pretty crippling for any kind of melee enemy or an enemy trying to escape. Pretty good. Level 2, we're going to be picking up Cunning Action. Cunning Action is always fantastic, but it's going to take a back seat with this build. Cunning Action is usually excellent for more mobility or being able to go in or out or allowing us to sneak. Most of the time, we're not going to be using this because we're going to be focused on the Thieves version of Cunning Action, which brings us to level 3. We become a Thief and we get Fast Hands. Probably my favorite Rogue feature altogether. If you guys don't know this about me, my favorite Rogue has always been Thief, and it's been fun to dive into this new Thief and to see what we can do with it. So there's the normal things, like we could pickpocket the components pouch from a wizard so they can't cast as many spells. Or we can reverse pickpocket a grenade in someone's bodice and let them explode in a couple turns. Something like that is always going to be there for us, but let's talk about what's new. So what did we lose from the old Thief Rogue? We lost quite a bit. We used to be able to throw grenades, acids, or alchemist fire with our bonus action. We lost that completely. Now we're focused on the utilize action. But did we get anything in return? The answer is hell yes we did. Let's break down some of these items. This is going to be a bullet round, so hang in tight. Got ball bearings. We do this better than anyone else because we can use it as a bonus action. This is going to be good control for a bunch of small enemies. It's not going to affect all of them, but it will affect some, so you can kind of split up your enemies using ball bearings. Pretty fantastic on a retreat. Caltrops, similar to ball bearings, and I think caltrops overall have been nerfed, but what they can do is completely stop certain enemies at a harder DC in a smaller area. Really good in tight, narrow hallways or doorways to stop enemies from chasing you down or to control them coming towards you. Chain. Alright, this is a big one. Now, it's not going to be the primary thing we use, but it's going to begin telling us what we're going to be doing with this Rogue. On a 13 athletics check, not something we specialize in, but not something we're terrible at either. If we have the enemy grappled, now they're restrained, and it's going to take an action on their part and a pretty high DC to escape that. So if we can grapple our enemies, we can bonus action, put them in a restrained condition that they then have to use their action to either get rid of the grappled condition or get rid of the restrained condition, both of which we can put back on the next turn if we so desire. This is very powerful. It's a way for us to give ourselves advantage. Once they're restrained, they can't move, they're going to have disadvantage on attacks, and we're going to have advantage on attacks attacks against them. It's incredibly powerful, and it's something we're going to be able to do often. The chain is just one option to get that done. Here's another big one, Grappling Hook. Grappling Hook is going to give us a bonus action 50-foot range attached to something with a rope. It's going to take an acrobatics check, something we specialize in, and it's going to give us a lot of vertical mobility. We're going to be able to climb up to 50 feet really easily, and this is going to be really nice for that sniper playstyle. Healer's Kit allows us to stabilize allies with a bonus action. Fantastic. Hunting Trap. Similar to Caltrops, it's a lower DC, but a better effect. So if they're going to be bad at dex saves, probably go Hunter's Trap. If they're going to be great at dex saves, probably go Caltrops. Manacles. Another amazing one with a Thief. If we get someone grappled, we can bonus action put the manacles on them. Pretty easy to do. It's a sleight of hand check, which we, again, specialize in, and they're going to have disadvantage on every single attack that they make until they get those manacles off, which takes an action to do. Really great when you just want to nerf someone who really relies on their attacks. I would even go as far as to say that they cannot even make an archery bow attack if they have manacles on. How are they supposed to pull that string back? Rope. A bread and butter item for us. With a very low DC sleight of hand check, we can restrain any enemy we have grappled. This is going to be incredible. Then they have to use their action to either break the rope or to escape us, and whatever they do, we can reset it up next turn, so they're always going to be at 0 movement. This is a great way to isolate one enemy, drag them away, and shank them to death. But that's not where it stops. As a bonus action, we can tie a knot, so we can tie a knot to one thing, and as an action, tie a knot to another thing. Any sort of knot with just a small sleight of hand check. We could do quick release knots, we could do knots that are never going to be untied, all sorts of things. We can do hangman's knots or deadman knots, and so just look up knots and a million applications of them, and you have access to those. A fun one I like the idea of is grappling hook yourself onto anything tall, climb up there, and if you don't have a good area to hang out in, you can do a quick release knot on your belt, so now you can hang off of whatever you're connected to and still do sniper playstyle, maybe upside down, Spider-Man style. Million applications with this, and I just think it's awesome. And that's what I think's really forgotten about the Thief. People look at fast reflexes and they're like, oh, it's, you know, it lets me sleight of hand someone in combat. That's decent. I guess it doesn't ever do any damage. And it's like, no, it gives you control, it gives you mobility, it gives you bonus action, give your enemies the restrained condition. It is so good. It lets you open doors, shoot someone, close the door. It lets you create cover by throwing a table over, and now you can get into cover after you make an attack. It's a million things you can do with it, and I wish people would take more advantage of it and see its potential. I love this feature. Signal Whistle. This is something we get to do as a bonus action and nobody else can. This allows us to alert our allies that, you know, things didn't go right. I went in there alone doing this little exploration mission, and they found me, so I'm shooting off the signal whistle so you guys can come save my ass before I die. Tinderbox. Now we can light stuff on fire. Good in combination with oil when we want to just burn something down. Utilize action to put the oil on whatever we want to burn down. Action to hit that tinderbox, and boom, spark that sucker up. You guys get the point. There's a million different things we can use. This build's going to revolve around the grapple section. It's going to allow us to give people the restrained condition or give them disadvantage on every single attack they make. It's incredible, and it's not hard for us to do. So we're going to rely on that, but keep in mind, we have a million other things we can do. We are versatility incarnate. So never forget that as a thief. We also get second story work at this level, which allows us to have a climbing speed, which is fantastic when in combination with our rope that I've been talking about. It's also going to allow us to make jumps using our dexterity, as I did mention beforehand. That's just excellent for a rogue. I wish it was every rogue who got to do that, but we get to. And we also get steady aim. This is going to be a great feature when we're in sniper mode and basically ignored when we're not. For this character, more often than not, we're going to be going in there, using our action or bonus action to grapple an enemy, and then we're going to be using our action or bonus action to be putting the restraint condition on them, and every turn after that, whatever they broke out of, we're going to re-put it on them, as well as shank them for sneak attacks every single turn until they're dead. Well, how are we going to grapple them with a bonus action, you might ask? And aren't we terrible at grappling? We have like no strength whatsoever. One level in Monk fixes that problem completely. Now we get a bonus action unarmed strike, so we can either do an unarmed strike as an action or a bonus action. Either way, when we hit them, we can attempt a grapple. Now, grappling has changed. It's no longer a contested check, and I think overall it's worse. So there's going to be times we can't get the grapple off. So it's nice that we can use an action and a bonus action to try and attempt it when we really need to get that grapple off. We're also going to come with unarmored defense. That's going to be better than the leather-studded armor if we have 2 wisdom or more, which I expect we will. There are exceptions if we get a really cool magic armor, then we're probably going to want to lean towards that. But in general, we're probably going to take unarmored defense and actually use it. Level 5, we're picking up the Grappler feat, and we're going to bump our dex. The Grappler feat is absolutely incredible for this build. The first thing it's going to do is allow us to do damage and grapple on the same unarmed strike once per turn. That's great. It basically represents a little bit more damage because we're going to prioritize grappling, but the extra little bit of damage never hurt anyone. More importantly, it's going to give us advantage on any attack that we have against a grappled creature, which means that we can shank enemies after we grapple them and always get our sneak attack off, whether we have allies around or not. It makes us a more independent rogue. Rogues are so reliant on their allies. This lets us have options when they're not around. But probably the most important is fast wrestler. This is going to allow us to grab our enemies and move at full speed away. So once we isolate someone, grapple them, wrap them up in a rope, we can drag them away, continue shanking them, and whenever they break out, use their action to break out of our grapple or use their action to break out of the rope. Either way, we're just going to reapply whatever we can and keep it going. It's going to be very, very annoying for those enemies. They're either stuck with us, attacking at disadvantage, getting shanked the whole time, or they're using their action to break something that's probably going to be put on next turn. Level 6 brings Uncanny Dodge. This allows us to take half damage from one single attack. Pretty good when we're considering that we're going to be up close and personal. This isn't the type of hit and run rogue we're used to. We're going to often be near enemies who are going to be attacking us at disadvantage, so more AC is going to be better for us, and this is a good backup when that AC fails us. We're also going to get Cunning Strike. Now, everything Cunning Strike gives us, poison, trip, and withdraw, is mostly covered by what we're already doing. We're already going to be reducing their speed and getting to attack at advantage, and we're not really trying to hit them and run away, and poison's just too unreliable, so more often than not I'm not going to be using this, but it's nice to have in our back pocket when we want to use it. Trip with our sniper playstyle is a good example of knocking someone prone and taking away 20 feet. They're going nowhere, folks. Level 7, we get more expertise. I'm going to be picking up expertise in stealth. I'm sure we're using it all the time, and it's a good time, but I wanted to prioritize our item usage more. Now's a good time to grab stealth. And the second one is Arcana. Of all things, Arcana is going to come in clutch later. It's really not going to help us for a while, but it's nice to have there for when that time comes. Reliable Talent at level 8. Reliable Talent is incredible with this build. It's going to mean that our rope tricks and our manacles tricks are guaranteed. And at this point, if we have a 10 in strength, then our chain is guaranteed as well. If we don't, if we have 8 in our strength, then it's not guaranteed. In that case, next level it is guaranteed because we get +1 to our proficiency bonus. It's one of the reasons we took proficiency in athletics. It just helps us out in this regard. Grappling Hook is also guaranteed, so we can do all sorts of mobility things with Grappling Hook. Level 9, we get an ASI bump. I'm bumping dex. It's critical that we bump dex because that's what we're going to be grappling people off of. It's essential that we get our dex up, and it's also going to do everything else. It's going to make us more accurate and do more damage and yada yada yada, more AC, but more importantly, we need those grapples. Level 14, we're going to get Use Magic Device, and this is why we went Expertise in Arcana. We can now use spell scrolls, and we make an Arcana check against those spell scrolls. Well, with Reliable Talent and Expertise in Arcana, even at this level, there is no spell we will fail at casting. Doesn't matter if it's 9th level spell. We're level 13, and we can start casting 9th level spells right now. We are equivalent to a level 17 wizard that has infinite 9th level spells, so long as we can find the spell scrolls to use them. So hoard those spell scrolls. It's going to make this a fantastic feature. It's also going to allow us to have an extra magic item in use that we can attune to, and it's going to make us specialist at items that require charges, because if we roll a d6 when we do one of these charge checks, it is going to allow us to use that item without using any charges, so we're going to just be able to use them more often than anyone else. We're a magic item specialist, and it completely changes the build based off whatever you've gotten. All of a sudden, you can start chucking around fireballs and cones of cold and just doing crazy crap. And that's something else that the Thief can do that really no one else can do. The Thief's potential is really the highest spellcaster possible if you had infinite scrolls, right? There's no one better at spellcasting. So depending on your DM, it can be vastly different power levels, but in any case, it's going to be a lot of fun. We're going to capstone this build with the boon of Combat Prowess. This is going to allow us to turn any miss into a hit once per turn, which guarantees sneak attacks every single turn, and that is good in and of itself. So the wrap up, did the Thief get better or worse? Well, I think it got worse in some ways and much better in others. I think bonus action Restrain condition is excellent, and the fact that it is reliant on the grappled condition really leans us towards that 1 level monk dip. It feels like Thieves really kind of need that 1 level monk dip, otherwise they completely use the ability to do probably the best thing, which is the bonus action Restrain condition. Is that my favorite game design in the world? No. I think items should really be designed and tied around the thief's playstyle because they're so interwoven and connected. But really, nothing has changed for me. I still love the thief. They're just so fun. I think if you love rogues, you probably would love thieves or this build. Flavor-wise, this build would just feel so good when you go stab an enemy and they're focused on fighting you, and then they try and swing a weapon and all of a sudden they're in handcuffs and they're attached to a wall. They're like, what the crap just happened? It's that idea that there's two fights going on. There's the one they think is going on where it's, I'm swinging my weapon at you and you're swinging your weapon at me. But meanwhile, there's sleight of hand happening in the background, a second fight where now they're attached to the floor or their feet are tied up or whatever. It's just really cool that we are so skilled. But let me know what you guys would do with your thief in the comments down below. Also do all that other YouTube crap while you're down there. Like, comment, subscribe, and I will see you on the next one. Alright, my friends. See you later. Peace.